Yeah. Yeah. Come and never sleep on me. Eyes on my chain, 숙여 너의 고개를. What you looking at, fool? 너의 눈 허리 멍청했고. Find your comfort from another, yeah. I go low like undercover, yeah. Wanna know my name, 죽지 않은 일은 위에 부어버려 기름. Yes, you can even guess me, cause I'm baby. High low 확실해, not like maybe. Devil let me welcome to my palace. 찾지 않아 Alice, you just keep on wondering. You just keep on wonder, 찾지 않아 Alice, but in 너의 memory. I just pop a bin, Danny have been. 나는 걸어 Boeing 747, 날개 위.
Up, everybody? It's your boy Jonathan Lyon. I'm back, and I got my boy, the man that men want to be and women want to be with. We got Colton, the Living Daylights Flat. Colton, say something for the audience.
Hey, everybody. Glad to see you. We also have our third co-host, Mr. Caleb, the 1967 Casino Royale parody Mabry. Caleb,
that's me. That's me. Yeah.
And
hit the nail on the head.
And we also have Mr. Eric Lee Humphrey.
Boys, keep it moving.
Hey, real quick, since Colton has the Living Daylights in his name, do I have to put Casino Royale parody?
No, bro, you're fine.
Okay.
You can.
I will.
You can pick another movie. I was kidding.
Thank you.
So, let's talk about the order of the day, gentlemen. On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So, initial thoughts from me. Top 5 material. Honest to God. Maybe even top 3. Now, it is not my number 1 favorite, okay, personally. But I do think this is maybe the best Bond movie, just objectively looking at it.
Story-wise?
What?
Like story-wise?
Yeah, just looking at the whole big picture, I think this might be the actual masterpiece of the whole franchise. Now, I mean, my own opinion, no, it's not my favorite. It's one of them, but it's not my very top favorite. But I mean, I do think this is just an awesome movie. Not better than awesome. Just, I think it is a masterpiece.
I share those sentiments in a way. It is a masterpiece in some regard, but it's not my favorite Bond movie.
Right.
I think that it's a miracle that this film actually works, considering all the things put against it. That, like, people can go and watch it after watching the majority of Connery's tenure. And going into this, you can watch this movie and safely say, I enjoy that movie. I don't know if everybody will, but I think it's like super solid. It's definitely probably in my top 10, top 15.
I don't think this movie performed that well at the box office at the time. Is that right, Jonathan?
I think it did all right.
Well, it certainly did not live up to You Only Live Twice, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think it did much. It
didn't lose money.
Yeah.
But I want to add to what Colton said about it being a miracle that anything worked. It really is, like, because you got to take into consideration this is around the time the Casino Royale parody came out and all the other spy genre spoofs. So the spy genre was kind of damaged. Is it safe to say?
Yeah.
And for people to go and see this movie in spite of that, add to the fact that this isn't your James Bond that you've been watching. It for it to be successful is pretty cool.
Yeah. Eric, do you have anything you'd like to say about it, my boy?
Man, this is probably my bottom 5 James Bond movies of all time.
Kick him from the call.
Booted.
I just don't enjoy this movie. And I think the big thing is, so you've got Sean Connery as James Bond, you got Roger Moore, you got Pierce Brosnan. But the problem is how do you follow those guys up? And so you just get George Lazenby to follow up Sean Connery after he's killed it for all these movies. And then he's not my guy.
So
that's certainly one way of looking at it. And I get that opinion. Like, I understand it entirely.
Yeah.
I think George Lazenby actually did a really good job considering the odds were pretty much stacked against him. So that sort of gives you an idea into my thoughts on the movie.
So, does anybody in here actually know the story of how Lazenby got the job?
Yeah, if you, I think I know of it. I don't know all the finer details. Basically, he lied to
Yeah.
get the part. Um, he went to his cosmetologist, which I desperately need right now, and got Sean Connery's haircut, and then went to his tailor to get fitted for a suit because he wanted a suit akin to Sean Connery's James Bond. And it was going to be like 6 months or something for him to get a suit. Well, anyway, the tailor just so happened to have one of Sean Connery's suits left over that Sean didn't, never picked up or just left there or whatever. So he goes to the audition wearing Connery's suit, Connery's haircut, and there's something about him like sneaking past the receptionist desk or something like that. Anyway, he sneaks into the audition, and I don't know how well the actual audition went, but basically he lied to the producers, telling them that he had all this acting experience, which he did not have. He was a male model,
Yeah.
and if you consider being in a commercial acting experience, and well, that's all he had.
Yeah.
And he lied his way into the part pretty much.
Yeah. He actually said he had been in a bunch of movies in like Czechoslovakia and like basically the communist countries in Europe, because of course, this is before the internet. He thought that they wouldn't be able to look up and see what movies he was talking about.
Right. He thought of all the places that he thought that they wouldn't bother to check.
So yeah, I want to say something about Lazenby's performance as Bond. Honest to God, guys, I always liked Lazenby's performance of Bond. And what I'm gonna say might shock y'all, and I'm not gonna spend too much time on it right here, because one day I want to make a video solely dedicated to this. But honest to God, me having read the books, I truly believe that George Lazenby's portrayal in On Her Majesty's Secret Service is literally the closest we've ever came to the character of the literary Bond being put on the big screen. As much as I love Sean Connery was still not the Bond of the books. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Connery better than I do Lazenby as a Bond. I'm just saying, if you really wanted the book Bond, Lazenby's about as close as you can get. And people bring up Craig and Dalton as being, more literary focused. But I mean, literally, guys, Lazenby is, if you wanted my opinion, I think Lazenby is by far the most oriented toward the novel Bond. I'm going to get off my soapbox real quick.
No, that's a fair opinion, honestly. Like as far as or in terms of the literary Bond, I can say that, sure. Sean Connery, in my opinion, was the best and sort of the blueprint for the on-screen Bond.
Yes.
And I think it's okay to separate the two. Like, it's okay to have your favorite on-screen Bond or pick your favorite, like, literary Bond. And in your case, it's George. Mine's Timothy Dalton. But
I understand.
all that is to say, I get it. And I think it's fair.
Yeah.
So I totally get what Caleb's saying. Like, it makes sense head-wise. Like, and Jonathan, like, I was going to say something to that effect after reading. I've read like 2.5 Bond books this week. I've read 3/4 of Goldfinger. I read On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and I finished Octopussy and started The Living Daylights. So I will say that the energy that I got watching George Lazenby this week, like how he was cocky at times and the way he treated women, like more so than Sean in his interactions with like Moneypenny or whatever, like that's what I get from reading the book. And that I totally get what you've got going on, like what you mean by saying that. And then to your effect, Caleb, what you said about what George did to get the role, that's the most Bond shit I've heard.
Right. Yeah.
Like he dressed up like Bond, like he pretty much infiltrated the film set or the producing company, and then he lied his ass off to get the job.
Not only did he lie his ass off, but he lied to a couple of the most ruthless movie producers at the time.
Who were professionals, like
Right.
not like they were amateurs. They were the top dogs.
Exactly. So that in itself is impressive, and that might have been what won him the role. Like, even if they, like I said, I don't know all the finer details, but let's say they did find out that he was lying this whole time. Just the balls that took. You know, if I was a producer, I'd be like, I mean, that's very James Bond like.
Well, not to dwell on this any more than we have to, but just to build on what you were saying, Caleb, Lazenby did actually start feeling bad for all the line, and he went and told, you know, Harry Saltzman, Cubby Broccoli, hey, I've been lying my ass off. And I think it was Peter Hunt told him, said, listen, you fooled two of the most ruthless guys in the film industry. You're an actor. You can do that. You know, you acted, you know, this all out. You can be an actor. We just got to get you in there.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that point. I think it's important to know that Peter Hunt was sort of on his side.
Yeah, yep. That's something else that we need to talk about. It's Peter Hunt. You know, he had always wanted to direct, right? Yeah, he's the director of this one, right?
He was supposed to maybe, or he really wanted to direct You Only Live Twice.
You Only Live Twice. And he got pissed and like left, and they had to call him back, right? Like,
right. He just basically threw a fit and quit the production team. And I don't know the editor's name that they brought on in his place, but there was a 3-hour cut of You Only Live Twice, and they were like, man, we're gonna lose a lot of money if we can't show this picture multiple times, you know, with a 3-hour runtime. So they brought him back. Yeah. And I forgot what the runtime wound up being for that movie, but obviously it's a lot shorter than 3 hours. So
I'm going to say something. Peter Hunt directed the hell out of this film.
Yes.
That he did.
He did it very well. I'm glad he directed this one.
I am too, real quick. I want to mention this too. In terms of the action scenes, did you guys notice that they focused on really showing George Lazenby in the action scenes?
Yes.
Yeah. That's because it was really him doing a lot of the action upon Peter Hunt's request. So we have, you know, him to thank for that.
Yeah.
It sells it, I think. I mean, some of them don't look great, but I mean, I didn't know that. I wasn't trying to say that I did, but I will say that it sells the scenes the way I mean, it's still choppy in a lot of parts, but the action scenes for the most part were pretty good for the time, I think.
Yeah, I agree with y'all. So I want to, and Colton and Caleb, I want to come back to basically a lot of what you guys just said. I want to come back to it later on, but just with the gun barrel is a little bit different in this movie. It's like, I don't know if you guys really saw it, but like, it's kind of like, had this weird effect on it where it was like, I don't even know.
Kind of sparkly?
Yes. Like,
yeah, I noticed that too.
And Lazenby gets down on his knee to do the shot, which coincidentally, I mean, I was just reading this like yesterday, apparently, and if somebody is listening to this and knows that it's BS, please call it out. But I read that the reason he got down on his knee is because that was something, y'all know that George Lazenby is from Australia, right?
Good eye, mate.
Yeah. So I was reading that he did that, getting on his knee, because that was some Australian like special forces move to get down on your knee so your shots would line up better. That's what I read. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, it totally could be.
But my question is, how did George Lazenby know about the Australian Special Forces? He was a male model.
Well, we've already established that he was a a liar. So
Yeah, well, he was kind of a badass too. I mean, like,
Yeah.
so, I don't know. Maybe he was just a badass dude all the
I think-
time.
I think
But
probably just knew a guy.
yeah,
knew a guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
knew a
I'll tell
guy.
you this: George was just trying to get down under.
Down under. Yeah.
All right, boys. Hey, the old Crocodile Dundee is going to be coming out in a little bit if y'all
I
keep
love
it
those.
up.
I love those films.
Hey, speaking of him being Australian, I think that's another thing that was sort of against him. He went into the role and immediately had to start taking like dialect classes
Yeah.
to learn the accent. So I think considering that, he pulls off the accent pretty well.
Yeah, I think it does good.
Agreed.
So the first scene we get Bond driving a new Aston Martin. Of course, this isn't the DB5. This is the Aston Martin DBS, which kind of looks like a Mustang at the time. I mean, in a way. I mean, and obviously this car does not have a bulletproof glass, which we will learn later on in the movie at the tail end. But
How convenient.
yeah. So we see him looking through his sniper scope at a girl who's just walking out into the water. So I guess he just immediately thinks that she's going to drown herself. So he runs out, picks her up, brings her back. And then all of a sudden, two dudes just show up out of nowhere. So what do you think about this first fight scene we get?
So before the first fight scene, I will say there was nothing wrong with Tracy when she was walking out in the water. So why did she pass out when she was up on the beach?
Yeah.
I've got a theory. I think the ocean was just really, really cold, and that maybe that caused her to faint. I don't know.
Eric, what do you think?
I don't know, man. It's one of them. It just doesn't make sense. It's like everything's going good, then she just walks out there, and I just like, what's happening right now? I was just kind of confused.
Well, in the book, she was trying to kill herself.
Yeah.
That's what I've always took from it, that she was just trying to commit suicide in the worst way possible.
Yeah.
That would suck.
So Bond saves her and they get into a fight, which is, I mean, a pretty brutal fight. And I will say this. Some of the times when they're hitting, they are out in the water and then they will be like not in the water and then they'll be out in the water again. Honest to God, I don't mind it. I think the fight is
Yeah,
so
no, I
good.
don't either.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's just so like, I mean, comparing this to some of the fight scenes before and to come, I mean, I think these are some of the most brutal scenes, especially for 1969 fighting we could get. Like, I mean, because to the point where Lazenby's drowning dude in the water. I mean, especially for a mainstream movie like the Bond series is, I mean, I think it's some pretty brutal stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
So-
they narrowly obtained their PG rating by doing that.
I will say that I'm pretty much sold on the fight, like other than how it looks sometimes. But I will say there's one kick that they do in the film in this fight scene that just looks absolutely ridiculous. Like, who kicks like that?
yeah.
And like I can go back and record what part I'm talking about and send it to y'all later.
All
Like,
right.
it's pretty terrible. And I would, before we move on, I would like to mention the Cougar that she drives. Like, she loses them pretty easy, and it's probably because that Cougar's got a 428 in it. Like, that's pretty stout for the size of that car, even though it is a bigger body Cougar than the ones before it. But I don't know.
I'm glad you brought the Cougar up because I love the Cougar, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I do. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's funny in the book. I don't know if, and Colton, you've been reading this book, right?
Yes, I completed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a really good one.
So in the book, this is just a little nitpicky thing, but in the book, she doesn't drive a Cougar. She drives a Lancia, which I don't know if you guys know about Lancias, but it's a European car, but
Lancia, they make a lot of, or they did make a lot of rally racing cars.
yeah. So Bond picks her shoes up and he says, it drops that line. This never happened to the other fella.
Gosh.
I love it.
Which always leads people to believe the whole code name theory thing, where people believe that every Bond is actually different person and James Bond is just a code name, which, I mean, we're not going to go into right now, but I think me and Caleb both, and probably you too, Colton, and even you, Eric. I don't know how many times you watch these movies, but I think we all could probably prove the code name theory wrong right now, just sitting here.
Well, if you actually sit and watch the movie, they dismiss that theory pretty fast.
Like they dismiss it like in the next 5 minutes after the
exactly,
sequence.
yeah.
Like with the title sequence, really, like it shows everything that Bond's already been through.
Yeah,
and I think that's the whole reason for the title sequence.
Yeah.
The whole theme to begin with is to sort of convey to the audience this is the same guy.
And,
also, real quick, speaking of that, did you notice the titles at the beginning of the gun barrel that said Harry Saltzman and Cubby Broccoli? I also think that was a way of telling the audience that, like, hey, even though this is a new Bond, it's the same production. I thought that was kind of interesting because we haven't seen that since Dr. No.
Yeah, that is something like I read somewhere a long time ago that they were thinking about just, and I don't even know if this is true because it's been years since I've read this, Caleb. But I read that they were thinking about just like basically rebooting the whole series, and that's why they did the whole, Harry Saltzman and Cubby Broccoli present. I don't know though.
I'm glad they didn't reboot it.
Yeah.
But I'm also okay with picturing this movie existing sort of in a parallel universe.
Yeah.
But they make too many nods to the other previous films for that to be the case. And one more thing about the gun barrel before I forget. Did you guys notice the lag? That takes a minute for George to get going.
Yeah, it's like he's on a treadmill for a second.
Yeah, I don't know why that effect or that glitch rather made it into the movie, because it seems like all they would have to do is just splice that little part of the beginning of his walk, and I don't know, maybe it would have thrown the timing off, but just redo it because that looks so weird.
But so we get the title sequence, which the song that plays on it, I love that song. Like, it's instrumental, but still, I rank that. I mean, it's right up there with the James Bond theme. I love the On Her Majesty Secret Service theme. It's awesome. Any yay or nays with y'all?
I liked it.
Eric?
My hot take here. So the way I grew up watching James Bond movies, we always skipped through the title sequences, man.
There are some that I skipped through, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and I think it comes from my dad on watching some of the later ones and stuff where they just had terrible title sequences. That, and being 10 years old and seeing some of these risque things. So I just kind of have a bad habit of skipping through that and just getting straight to the action or the money penny scene or something like that.
Which is okay, because the only thing you missed was the actual titles. The song gets brought up later.
Yeah.
It's used as sort of the climactic action scene soundtrack. But real quick, my thoughts on it: top 5, top 3.
Yes,
I love it, man.
Love it.
The synthesizers, and look, I don't know a lot about music, but whenever I hear it, I automatically picture the chase in the snow, and I think the song really sets the atmosphere and tone for the movie really well.
So after the title sequence, we get Bond. He's at the he's at the office, and hold up 1 second. Hold up, no, man. I'm jumping the gun. He's at the casino.
Oh, yeah, we're at the hotel.
Yeah, at the hotel and the casino. Sorry about that. I was really jumping.
You're good.
May I take your bagage, sir?
So we get him going to the hotel, and so what are your thoughts about this?
Eric, this is sort of where I feel like George Lazenby's lack of experience comes through. Just you get sort of a hint of it as he's interacting with the hotel manager, I guess. Hey, yeah, I know I'm not breaking new ground here by saying this, but he just sounds wooden.
Yeah.
Like, and that's okay. It's not terrible acting. It's not like he's playing it with a southern accent or anything, but I don't know. It's just that's my only gripe with this scene, I guess.
So we see him playing Baccarat, of course, later on, and who shows up to the table? None other than Teresa De Vincenzo. I think I got her name right. Basically, the chick that was trying to kill herself earlier, and she goes and makes a big bet, loses it, but she don't have the money to pay up. So our boy Bond, he's going to come to the lady's rescue, pay all this money, and he's not going to expect anything back in return, right?
Real quick, Colton, I think I cut you off. When did you have something to say about the hotel entrance?
Oh, the only thing I really had to say was the guy that greets him at his car. He either says baggage or luggage, really weird. He's like bagage or luggage, and like it's really, really noticeable. I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but there's a guy on YouTube who has a 69. It's a 69 DBS, right?
Yeah,
correct.
Okay, so there's a guy on YouTube that has a 69 DBS, and he got in touch with all the people that have the same cars in the frame. They're like somebody's got a Cougar and like I think there's like a Bentley and some other vehicles. He got in touch with people that had the same cars and went to the same hotel, had them change the flags outside of it and everything. And he recreated the scene and even had them come outside and say that weird line the same way.
Dude, that is so cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
It's on YouTube. If I can find it.
Yeah, send that to us.
I will. I'll find it and I'll send it to you guys.
I've got something to say about that little scene right there. The Aston Martin's bitch made horn. Like,
I know, like what is up with that? Like,
I don't know if that's just some stock audio that they had laying around in the editing room, or if that was that actual factory horn of that car. I hope not.
It can't be.
Why would you have such a gorgeous car and then neep neep?
Yeah.
What?
So I will tell you guys something about the horn in some Aston Martins, not the DBS, but in the 87 Vantage that Dalton had. I was watching a video about the car here a while back. That car has two horns. It has like a regular muscular sounding horn, and then below it on the same button trigger, it has a bitch horn.
Like a friendly horn.
Yes.
Like one horn says, "Hey, get out of my way, Grandma," and the other one's like, "Hey, what's up?
Hey there, please move.
Hello there.
Colton,
Please take my luggage."
That is such an interesting thing to bring up. That's really cool. I did not know that.
Yeah,
Like,
that's awesome.
I'll send you guys the video on that too, because man, I love this is probably my third favorite Bond car. It's a really nice looking car. It doesn't look anywhere near as good as the DB5 though.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, I mean that's great information, guys. I appreciate all that. So after, and I want to come back to the car later on, okay? Because I know pretty much everybody on here are car fanatics. So I mean, I figure we'll talk about the car later on.
One more thing, John.
Go ahead.
On the beach in the sand, when Teresa stole the DBS, and she squealed tires on sand.
Yeah, I know.
It's terrible. Moving on. I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Eric.
I said I didn't even realize that, but
Oh yeah, I remember that. Like,
have you guys ever watched the Dukes of Hazzard, the old TV show?
Yes.
Every time they spin out on dirt, they squeal tires. I don't know why. I don't know.
It was a 70s, man, or the 80s, man. We just did that shit.
I guess maybe it was just the tires back then.
Have a little compassion, you guys. It's a different time.
So basically, Tracy tells Bond to come to her room later, which he does. And who does he find in the room?
Not Tracy.
What?
Not Tracy.
Not Tracy. Finds a old dude.
Does he have a name?
I think his name is Chi-Chi.
That's better than Teehee.
But so they get into a fight, and I mean, this dude's a big dude. Like, you know, I mean,
Oh yeah.
But they get into a fight, and Bond gets the upper hand, and as dude lays on the floor and he walks out, and like, I don't know, I always find myself quoting this whenever my wife and my stepdaughter are watching this movie with me. He like looks at the caviar and gets some, and he's like, Royal Beluga, north of the Caspian. Like, I just find myself quoting that like every time I watch this movie. It's like the goofiest shit to quote, but I do anyway. Like,
So have you guys noticed? I can't remember which movie it was. It's in one of the ones that we just watched, one of the Connery movies. It seems like he always takes him a little snack with him before he leaves and exits a scene sometimes.
Or a drink.
Or a drink. Yeah.
Yeah.
They sort of pay homage to that in Die Another Day. Do you remember that scene, Jonathan, where he's in
Yeah,
the hospital and
he was in the hospital and got the grape?
Yeah.
Well, he also did that in Thunderball when he was in the.
That's okay. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. I remember. I remember there was like one or two instances where he had done that in one of the previous movies, but I don't know. I just think it's funny.
So he goes up to his room, and of course Tracy's there, and we get to see Bond smack a woman, which I think at this point, this is what the maybe the second or third woman we've seen Bond hit.
He's trying real hard to be like Connery.
Yeah, this is a very Connery scene. You know, like this is something we could see Connery's Bond do, and it would not seem weird at all.
Does seem sort of out of place for him.
Yeah.
Like George Lazenby, even I mean, say what you want to about his acting, but he seems like a more sensitive Bond. Seems like he wouldn't do that.
He seems like he'd be a nicer dude than like Connery's Bond to me seems like a dude that would just might as well kill you than say hello to you. But George Lazenby's Bond seemed like kind of a nicer guy, you know, like he wouldn't just be smacking women around for kicks. Which
his jollies off.
Yeah.
I got a question for you, Jonathan. I'm not as
good.
What? Sorry. No, repeat that.
I just said he gets his jollies off beating on women.
No, what, Jonathan? What'd you say, Jonathan?
I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying. I mean, I think Connery's Bond might take a little bit of pleasure in being sadistic to people at times, but I don't think Lazenby's Bond is really like that. So yeah, it is kind of a weird scene seeing him smack a woman.
That's just Sean Connery.
That's just Connery.
No, which that actually sort of leads into my next question because I'm not as plugged into the novels as I used to be, so I don't really remember. I don't remember Bond being as abusive in the novels.
Yeah,
is that safe to say, or is that me remembering it wrong?
I mean, it's been a few years, but I'm pretty sure I think he hits a woman in some of the novels, at least. I don't know. Okay. It's been a minute. I need to. Colton, did he? Did he?
So in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, I do know that he talked about wanting to kick the Fraulein in the behind several times.
Well, that's okay. Like that.
I understand that, and I agree with it. I'm just saying, like, I could see him just hitting a woman just because he wants to.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, even though you don't remember if he actually did lay hands on a woman, he is the top two in the books.
In the books, yeah. I think so.
So, Eric, do you have anything to add to this?
Question though is, do you blame him for hitting her after he tried to save her? She was ungrateful, stole his car for a hot second, tried to peel out on sand. And then he tried to come to her rescue and pay off all her debts. And then, he doesn't even get a hi, how you doing or anything like that. So,
I don't think it warrants hitting her, but I get what you're saying.
It can be a little frustrating.
That sand probably scratched the hell out of his wheels.
Well, you have to think, whenever he did hit her, he thought that she had that guy come to her room, so.
Right. I was going to bring that up. So are we 100% certain that she had nothing to do with it?
Yeah, I don't think she had anything to do with it.
Okay, and the reason I asked that is, and I'm jumping ahead in the scene just tad, but the next day, Bond is missing his gun, and
Yeah.
I assume the only way that the henchman would have got it is from her.
From her. Yeah.
So that says to me that it was somewhat coordinated.
Yeah. What I figure, here's what I figure. This is just me doing my mental gymnastics to make this work. What I figure is, I mean, her daddy is a big time head of a crime syndicate. They obviously followed her, was like, listen, you owe this guy money. Here's the money. You take his gun because we're gonna get him when he comes out of the hotel.
That's not a stretch at all. As a matter
That's
of
what I think happened. But
yeah, and as a matter of fact, that's one of the explanations that I came up with, that she's not exactly in on it, but she knows that these guys work for her father, and just she needs to stay out of their way.
And she also knows that Bond is somehow part of that life too, and
Sure,
he'll be able to handle himself one way or another.
yeah, it's not honestly at this point, I don't think it really matters whether she had anything to do with it or not. But yeah. So I think you won me over. She didn't have anything. She didn't encourage it. We'll say that.
Yes. So we get him waking up, and he does exactly what we just got done talking about. He gets the money back, doesn't have his gun, so he's going down. He's going to play around the golf. He's got his orange turtleneck on with his brown suit, which is a very interesting combination. But hey, I mean, it was 1969. I guess people just dressed outlandishly like that. So he's going down. He's going to play some golf, and all of a sudden, some guy's like, "Hey, you're missing something," and he pulls the newspaper down, and there's a gun right there. Which I've always, like thought it was weird the way dude just literally standing there with a gun in front of God and everybody
in the lobby of the hotel.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, does nobody else think this is a little bit weird? I mean, but
I think
go ahead,
there's an sorry, Caleb. I think there's an indication that it's hidden behind the newspaper. At least it's implied. He doesn't do it very well. I think that's the implication, though. So,
if these guys are mobsters, though, they probably can just do whatever they want to. I mean, it'd be no different than like Al Capone's era. So if somebody said something, they're gonna get it too. So
that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, to the same effect that Tracy knows to stay out of their way. They probably have a reputation.
Yeah.
I mean, they were going in their hotel rooms like with ease and stuff, so they probably have to run in the middle of the place anyway. So you have a very good point.
So Bond gets in the car with them, and they go off, and they take Bond to an office. And Colton, what was you saying one of your favorite scenes was?
Okay, so before I mention my favorite scene, I do love how cheeky Lazenby is in the car. Like, great humor. Like, he's definitely pulling a little bit of the Connery string, but going like farther with it. It was great. I love the car scene. My favorite part of the movie is whenever they're going in Draco's establishment, and you got the little person. He's over here. He's sweeping, and he's whistling. I love that.
And he's whistling Goldfinger, the theme song, if anybody wants to know what tune he's whistling.
I had that question written down because I caught like the last part of the tune stuck out to me, and I was like, that sounds like Goldfinger. I'm also glad you brought up the quips that he gives those guys as they're putting him into the car. I think Lazenby plays that scene really well.
Yeah.
Like I definitely like, it's such a James Bond thing to do, and he pulled it off.
He did. I totally agree with you, Caleb.
Even the Lazenby hater will agree to that.
A good deal. I'm glad we got you aboard.
We're gonna win him over before this is done.
Damn right we are.
I will say that the quips were top notch for Lazenby in that scene.
Like that.
So right after that guy whistling, we get a fight scene. Bond's throwing people, hitting people with the door, and he then opens the office, and we see our boy Mark Draco. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. And
I think they pronounced it Draco in the movie. Now, as far as the rest of his name, I don't know.
So he's pretty much like pretty much like the Godfather in a way. You know, he's a mafia boss. Well, actually, his criminal organization is called the Union Corse, which is like the Corsican mafia. You know, on the island of Corsica.
Yeah.
So he's pretty much a big shot, and he's the daughter of Tracy, and basically he wants Bond to marry his daughter
To
for $1
tame
million.
her.
To what?
He wants Bond to tame her.
Yeah, to
In his
dominate
own
her.
words. Yeah, dominate her.
Dominate her.
Take her a few more times.
I mean,
Look, I know that this is in the 60s, but in the context of that's her father,
yes.
that's still really weird.
I mean, guys, me being a stepdad, I would never use terms like that.
And Bond actually makes a reference to it because he's telling him that he knows of all the stuff that he's done for her. He says, I know everything. And Bond goes, everything?
Everything.
And he's basically like, oh, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Even for 1969, that scene where he says, you know, she needs a man to dominate her, even for 1969, that's got to be like misogynistic even for then. I mean,
right.
Surely
Yeah.
to God, people didn't think like, I mean, normal people didn't think like that. Like, I mean,
maybe it's just to illustrate that my boss would think differently than us.
yeah, maybe so. Yeah, I do like, there's another little thing that I really like in this scene, and I don't know if you guys even picked up on it, but it was when he offered Bond a cigarette, and Bond says, no, I prefer my own. Thank you. Like, just the fact that, like, he's being offered all this fancy stuff, and he's like, no, I've got my own, and I like this better. You know, I always thought that was a cool little scene. Kind of shows you Bond is a dude that knows what he wants. You know what I mean?
I shared this theory with Colton. I think he prefers his own because he started rolling his cigarettes with more harmful carcinogens despite Mr. Soto. Remember? Because he was like,
Yeah.
he quit smoking, and James Bond was like, screw that, and he just starts putting more tar and all that stuff in his cigarettes to worsen his chest.
Black tar heroin.
Well, you know, Mr. Azado likes a healthy chest.
That's what I'm saying. He told that to Bond, and Bond was like,
Yeah,
I ain't
no.
taking that.
But
I like
Go ahead.
I like the quip whenever Draco is like, but Mr. Bond, it's the 13th. And he's like, I'm superstitious.
Superstitious, yeah.
I thought that was great.
Have you guys picked up on the how they're kind of alluding to Tracy's death? Like,
No.
I feel like they're giving us hints. I'm sorry.
Go
I
ahead and
didn't,
tell us
but
about it, Caleb.
Yeah.
I feel like they've sort of been giving us hints throughout, because the first time we see Tracy, Bond is looking at her through a rifle scope. Okay, and then the scene where Draco, her father, is trying to persuade Bond to marry her is on the 13th. So I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too far into it, but I kind of thought that was their way of alluding to the tragic end.
I've never thought that. That's interesting though. For real.
See, I just thought it's a typical Bond movie, so the female lead always dies somewhere in the movie, whether it's like 3/4 of the way or like right at the end, because Bond has to stay single where he can continue saving the world.
Originally, she was supposed to die at the beginning of Diamonds Are Forever.
Yep, but they messed that shit up. So I mean,
yeah, but I guess at that point, Lazenby had made it clear that he wasn't coming back. So I guess they thought it would be jarring if the next Bond was if that happened to the next Bond. So I don't know.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I will say I like how that happens at the end of this movie. Not to jump too far ahead, but I enjoy that Bond actually gives in to his feelings for this woman.
Yes.
I think it's great character growth, and I think it makes the impact more for me with how it ends.
Yeah.
I'll touch on that more later. I just wanted to bring that up.
And you know what? This is a good enough time I'm going to bring this up. Let's talk about Tracy real quick, and we'll get back to where we're at in the movie. in a little bit. But guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Diana Rigg in this role, I think she's one of the most absolutely gorgeous women ever in this movie. I mean, I really do. And y'all might not think the same way, but like I think she looked beautiful in this movie.
I think that she is really attractive. Definitely too attractive for Lazenby. Like it doesn't equate for me because Lazenby's got the biggest earlobes I've ever seen in my life, man.
You know, my wife thinks he's the best looking Bond of all of them.
I don't get it because you look nothing like Lazenby. You definitely look like more.
But yeah, she loves George Lazenby. My wife does.
He's got a handsome chin. I'll give him that.
They got the chin, boys.
Definitely rank her above Honey Rider.
Okay.
Oh, that's a bold take.
That is. I like
I'm
that.
not disagreeing. I won't dispute it, but I've never heard that.
I think it's the hair color is what does it.
I'm gonna touch on why I like her so much later on in this, but there's a few parts that really, I mean, really just make her very special, and I will get to that later on. Anyway, well, let's get back to the movie, and you will hear me talk about Tracy some more. All right, we're gonna talk about the car, and we're gonna talk about Tracy later on. All right, so anyway, after Bond and Draco talk a little bit, and we get Draco basically trying to sell his daughter off to Bond for $1 million. Bond and Draco do come to the conclusion that Bond's going to continue to date Tracy, and Draco is going to help him find our boy Blofeld. All right, so let's talk about Blofeld, guys. I mean, what do y'all think about Blofeld so far? Like in this movie, how do you feel about him? You like him?
Are you talking about go ahead.
Sorry, Caleb. I like Terry Savalas, right?
Telly
What?
Telly Savalas.
Telly Savalas. Yeah. So I like Telly Savalas in this role. I think he has the good businessman-esque persona down. He I don't know if you guys know anything about the DC animated universe, but he looks like Clancy Brown's Lex Luthor from the Justice League series. And he sounds like Clancy Brown's Lex Luthor from the Justice League series.
All right. So I'm glad you brought that up, Colton. So they actually based Lex Luthor, one of his versions, off of Blofeld in this movie.
No kidding.
Yes.
I can totally see it.
I had no idea, but that thought did occur to me while I was when he comes on screen. I was like, I need to ask Colton when they made the original Superman, because they should have cast Telly Savalas.
Yeah,
maybe he would have been too attached to Bond at that point, but or vice versa.
I think it was 1978 was the first Superman live action film.
Okay,
Gene
so they could have.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay.
So we get Bond finally going back to MI6, and M, very crusty in this one, pretty much tells Bond that, hey, you've been on the Blofeld operation too much. We're taking you off, which really pisses Bond off. And Bond's like, Moneypenny, I'm going to resign. Which he then goes into his office to, I guess, pout a little bit and drink some of his whiskey from his flask. And he gets called to go back into the office. And before we go back into M's office, Colton, this is that scene where, we got Honey Rider's knife and Red Grant's watch and the rebreather from Thunderbolt. So we get I guess our little reminder that this is indeed the same dude that you saw in the Connery movies, but he's just played by a different guy.
It's also a little bit of fan service.
No, very much fan service.
Yeah, I think this is like the first example of
Yes.
fan service in a film, which is, I don't know, pretty cool.
I agree. I think it's cool, Caleb. I also like the musical tone, like the music changes with each item.
I do too.
And I like that whenever he takes his drink of alcohol on the job, he apologizes to the picture of the Queen.
And by the way, that picture of the Queen is in my classroom in Dresden.
No kidding.
Dude,
I have that picture up on my wall. And
Cool.
dude, you will have no idea how many students come up to me and say, "Man, that woman's really pretty." Like a bunch of dudes have said that woman's really hot, and I'm like,
Man, hey,
Queen of England, bro.
I bet you could send that to George Lazenby and have him sign it.
Dude, that would be awesome.
He seems like the type of dude to do that. Like he's like a really down to earth guy in real life.
That's what I've heard too. I heard he's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about Lazenby at the end of the film, I want to bring up some of his other projects he's been in and his attitude, I guess, because I've got some stuff to note about him. I would like to meet Lazenby. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, we should do that, boys. We should go to a convention or something he's at. Let's do it.
I'm down.
That.
I'll go.
Oh, we could just fly to Australia. I've got the exit down.
We just go to his house.
We'll fit right in.
What were you saying, Eric?
Does he even go to those? And
Yes.
our luck, if we showed up to his house, this would be like something straight out of Big Bang Theory, like Shelton showing up to one of the funny guys' houses and, just restraining order immediately.
Yep,
Y'all
immediately.
just get away.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't do the accent.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I live here. I'm a local.
Keith Evans, my father.
Keith Evans.
Keith Evans, the country
I
singer.
knew you said urban. I was just kidding.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
He's my
So
uncle.
anyway,
So, John, I would like to bring up something from the pre-title sequence. We're shown the universal export sign, and I think that's pretty cool.
yeah,
So,
I think it's awesome as well.
the only other film that I've seen it in, Dr. No, at this point. It might be in the other ones, but I've only seen it in Dr. No in this one. I've noticed it.
So anyway, we get Bond going back to M's office, and M tells him, request granted, which Bond thinks it's resigning, but he looks at it later on. Turns out Moneypenny put him down for 2 weeks leave.
Mm-hmm.
So now Bond is free to go off and do his thing. So he goes to Draco's family get together, and he's going to figure out more about where to find Blofeld. And of course, good old Tracy's there, and she pretty much forces her father to tell him straight up. So, what do y'all think about this? Anything?
No, I was just gonna let somebody else go first if they wanted to, but I'll say it really speaks to Tracy's character. Like she's, the father's trying to get one, over her head, and she's too smart, or maybe just knows her father too well to, let that happen. She's aware immediately, or she's suspicious immediately of what's going on.
Well, the way I look at it is she obviously likes Bond, but she wants this to come off legit, not through her father's,
Right. Yeah, that's a good point too. Like she wants the relationship to happen on their own terms.
Yes. Which we do see in the following scenes. We even get like a love montage of them like riding horses and playing on the beach and petting cats and doing all sorts of stuff. Like I think that's the only little like love montage we get of the whole Bond series. It's even got the song We Have All the Time in the World, being played in the background by Louis Armstrong.
Which I love.
There's a little bit, if you want to call it a montage in Casino Royale with Bond and Vesper.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only other example I could think of. I got a question about the song. Was that written and performed specifically for this movie?
I think so, yes.
Okay, so basically what they did was they had a song written specifically for the movie, as is tradition, but they used an instrumental song for the title sequence, which is kind of interesting, I guess. I guess it might have gave something away if they'd used it in the pre-title sequence, or in the title sequence rather.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah, I wasn't 100% sure that if that song had existed
yeah,
before the movie was in production or if it was written specifically for it.
I think that was like Louis Armstrong's last like song like that
It
he
it
did.
it was, yeah. It was his last song before he died.
It's one of my favorite songs. It's a somber one. It's a soft one, but man, I love the song, boys. I really do.
I like the montage.
Yeah, I love the montage. I
I've
do.
heard some people say that the whole love relationship between Tracy and Bond was like forced, or maybe it was just too fast, wasn't or just wasn't fleshed out enough. But that's what the love montage is for, is to sort of show them
Yes,
falling in love. I bought it.
I did too. Um, and of course, later on, we get Bond being dropped off at a Jewish banker's office, and he goes in there. And what do y'all think about this scene? Any thoughts?
So I'll say, prior to this scene in the love montage, at the bullfighting arena, you see Bond and Tracy re-meet for the first time.
Yeah,
And the Draco is like, I think she likes you or whatever. And Bond tells Draco that he said, "You'll have to give me the name of your oculist."
Oh yeah,
I love that scene.
I wanted to bring up that line too. That was funny.
I thought it was funny too, Caleb. I thought it was hilarious. But then you get to the bank or office or whatever. In this scene, I never realized it the first 2 times or however many times I watched it. But the construction yard across the road has Draco signs all over it.
Yep.
Like, it's very in your face, and I don't know how I didn't notice it the first couple times.
So I actually really like this scene quite a bit. Bond goes to right outside the office, and they put the trunk up there, which has got the safe cracking machine and the copier in it, and brings it in, and he just pretty much just sits there while the safe cracker is doing its thing, and he's reading. Anybody see what he was reading?
Yeah, I saw it.
Reading Playboy.
So I have something to say about the whole Playboy thing or whatever. Like, I think the James Bond franchise does a good job with subtle nudity. Like, it's not in your face, and like not in a perverted sense. I really appreciate that they slip in little stuff like that, because you can watch these movies with your kids and they'll never notice it.
Yeah.
But like blink and you miss it, and you get it. So like, I really appreciate that in a non-creepy way.
Well,
like I brought up earlier, they got to retain the PG rating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to leave it because it could lead to us doing a whole podcast on this. But Bond actually has a big history with Playboy. Like, some of Fleming's novels were like serialized in Playboy.
Well, that's really, really cool.
Like,
I didn't know that, but yeah,
y'all should look it up. It's got a big history of Playboy and Bond like working together. But we can talk about that later on. We'll bring it up some other time. But anyway, Bond's sitting there, he's reading Playboy. Finally, the safe opens. Bond takes some stuff out, makes copies of it, takes the thing, puts it in the what is that thing? The cement mixer or what?
I think it's a cement mixer. I want to say real quick, I love the method of him getting the safecracker up there. I think that is awesome. I hope the lawyer is not eating lunch nearby.
Yeah. You just see some dude up there.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, why are they putting that cement mixer up in my office?
Like they literally hit my balcony with it.
Yeah, they do. They actually hit the balcony.
Yes.
And also, as much as I like the scene, what happened to Bond's more, gadgety safecracker that he had in You Only Live Twice?
Literally the movie before. Okay, Caleb. So I'm glad you brought this up, because I wasn't going to bring it up because I felt like I was going to be too nitpicky if I did, but I'm glad you brought it up.
You know me, man. I got a nitpick.
My way of answering this question is like, okay, so he did have a safecracker that fit in his pocket in You Only Live Twice. but the one here also has a copying machine on it too.
Oh, yeah,
Maybe that's
okay.
why he needed the whole thing. That's the only way I could justify it.
Yeah, that's a perfect explanation. My explanation was, well, Bond's on leave. He doesn't have access to his
Yeah.
Q gadgets, so he's got to use the older, bulkier version. But no, it's got a copying machine built in, so that makes sense.
So I had a stupid excuse for it too. The safe and You Only Live Twice is like 4 times smaller. So
That's also a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
of course, this gadget needs to be 4 times bigger to crack the safe, right?
And it takes a lot more time in this movie to crack the safe. Like, I mean, I think we're supposed to think it takes like 20, 30 minutes for it to crack it because, we see his watch. He's just sitting there chilling, watching the time go by as it's doing its thing. So
yeah, I mean, if you need a good explanation, you could just think of it in terms of it's a beefier safe.
Yeah, it's a badass safe.
Yeah, you're not going to get into it with a safe cracker from Harbor Freight.
Yeah,
you got to get the Milwaukee brand.
Yep.
And really break into that thing.
I will say I like when Bond leaves and he takes the Playboy with him.
Takes the centerfold with him.
And he's still got it open as he's walking through.
Yeah, he's walking, looking at it.
Which is wild.
Okay.
Like, what does he have? Like a collection of them at the house, or what? Like,
I would believe it.
Oh, I need this issue for my collection before I sell it on eBay.
Well, I'm pretty sure in this scene and a couple others in this movie that you also catch a little bit of a nip slip on the centerfold if you're paying attention.
Yes. Yeah, no, I caught that.
Yeah.
That's what made it stick out to me. Like if he was reading an article, I wouldn't have thought anything about it. But there's nips right there out in the.
He's over here holding it like a scroll that he's making some kind of decree, and you just see nip everywhere.
I will say, it's not the only nip slip in the film.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, and I hope you remember that because I want to. It's not that I want to. Oh, I got to go back and watch it, but like I've heard that, and I've never seen it other than the magazine.
Okay, so whenever he's in the bed with one of the girls at
Ruby,
whenever he's in the bed with Ruby, there's a scene like the sheet comes off and you can see it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very subtle. You got to be
very subtle.
attention.
Well, so you noticed it too, Eric?
Yep. First time I've seen the movie.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. I've seen this movie
I see you too are a man of taste.
Anyway, we can move past this.
Sorry.
No, you're good. But I'm glad you told me because I mean, I've never noticed it.
I haven't either. I'm with you, Caleb.
I don't know. I guess I'm not as dirty minded, and I'm not looking for tits.
Same here. I guess I'm just more cultured than you savages.
So I will say it's probably because Eric and I have our bifocals on.
I don't know, man. I'm just paying attention to the wrong things, I guess.
I got you. No, it's the right things.
It's definitely the right things.
So Bond pretty much finds out from this safe, that stuff he took a copy of, that Blofeld is trying to become like a count, right? He's trying to become like a
royalty.
Yeah, royalty. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So Bond goes to, like, it's established that he's been going to the College of Arms and doing some research on his own family tree, which is his own
crest.
His crest, his family motto, of course, the world is not enough, which we're gonna see later on. But
these walls are not enough.
These walls are not enough. Thank you, Caleb.
I loved that, dude. That was so funny. That was hilarious. But I do like his family motto. I think it's really cool.
I think
so. We also, this is we never see this again. We also see Bond at M's house.
Oh yeah, I was gonna bring that up. That's really cool. And M's playing with bugs.
Yeah.
And Bond apparently is an expert on butterflies.
Yeah, he comes in. He comes in. And he's like unusually small for whatever he said, and then M's like, I didn't know your expertise included lepidoptery or whatever it's called. Like,
doesn't seem like something required to be a secret agent, but it's cool that he knows.
Very strange little moment,
But it is really cool that we get to sort of a peek into like M's personal life, I guess. I thought that was really cool because, like you said, I don't think we see that again until Casino Royale when Bond breaks into M's house. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think you're right, Caleb, and it's a completely different M. Then I think this is by far the only time we ever saw any of the original, Bernard Lee, M personal life, like. And does anybody know what M's house, what the name for M's house is?
I have no clue.
This is really a novel thing, but the name for his house is Quarterdeck.
Oh, okay,
How's
yeah. So it seems like I remember something like that.
I don't remember the novel that they tell that in, but that's what his house's name is.
I'll say something to the butterfly effect that you guys discussed. Like,
it's a good movie.
It is. I enjoy that film. Perhaps Bond knowing about the butterflies, like maybe a subtle nod to the James Bond bird studies.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, that's an interesting thought.
I doubt it, but maybe.
Well, it could be that, but also I think it was just Bond's way of like breaking the ice because M was they were sort of mad at each other the last time. Definitely. Yeah, so.
And pretty much M gives Bond the go ahead to go ahead and go to Piz Gloria. But of course, Bond is under the guise of Sir Hilary Bray. And I really think this is one of the things that brings Lazenby's performance down. Half the movie, he's being another character, He's even dubbed by another character.
I hate this.
Actor. He's dubbed,
This one detail, and there might be a couple other things that just aren't coming to mind at the moment, but this detail right here brings the movie down a little bit for me. It's not a massive gripe, but the fact that this really highlights Lazenby's inexperience because he's sort of two-dimensional in this way. Like he does not have the ability to play Bond playing this guy, and it's pretty evident.
Yeah.
So, unpopular opinion, like I actually I'm not speaking to Lazenby's caliber as an actor, but I actually like that he's undercover for a large portion of this film. And I actually didn't notice he was dubbed until my second watch because it lines up. I think it lines up pretty good with his mouth.
Yeah. Eric's shaking his head. I'll let you go here in a second, but that's something that I think, and I agree with you. That's something that I think the Bond series has always handled really well is the dubbing. We don't get a lot of it now. But yeah, Eric, just
there were a couple scenes where it seemed like it went like the full old school Japanese dub where his mouth seemed to be moving just a little bit faster or a little bit slower than the words that are coming out. And so I was like, is this dubbed? And then I seen it do it again later. I was like, oh yeah, this is dubbed.
I never noticed those parts.
Yeah.
Were there tits in those scenes too?
No, there wasn't. No. I just noticing all the wrong things, I guess.
No, that's
nitpicky things.
No, it's just you got a keen eye, and I mean I'll give you props for that because it's you and Colton both. I mean, you guys are noticing something about a movie upon your like first or second or third viewing that I haven't noticed, and I've seen it probably 20 times at this point. So yeah.
I will say, upon my second rewatch, when I watched it and noticed it was dubbed, the part that let me know it was dubbed was when he goes in the room and he's talking to the girl and he goes to uncover and he's like, Fraulein, a nice surprise to see you here. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
that right there really shows Bond's commitment to this character because he stayed in character.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Bond's a
like,
method actor. That's what it is.
A Methodist.
Yeah, a Methodist.
Yeah,
No,
he's
he's
a
autistic.
Methodist. He is Bondistic.
so yeah, let's. You know what, guys? All good things that you brought up. Let's talk about Irma Bunt real quick. That's the Fraulein that Colton, the Living Daylights Flat, is talking about. Irma Bunt. I mean, so she's kind of like basically another version of Rosa Klebb.
I was gonna say she's Rosa Klebb 2.0.
Like pretty much like a woman that is supposed to be the ugliest woman ever. Like, I mean, literally the books put that out. Like they're like, yeah, the ugliest, most grotesque woman you could ever imagine. Like
I like Bond's what's the word, navel, and then he goes on to explain that it's the baggy part of a sail.
yeah.
And he says something like, no offense. I
Yeah.
thought that was funny.
Yes.
But and I have to say, like, this whole like just set up the villain's lair, Piz Gloria, the snow. I don't know why, but for some reason I love Bond movies when there's snow.
I do too. I love this setting.
Yes.
This this paired with the score, it's perfect.
And Blofeld's here, and he holds his cigarette. I don't know if any of y'all ever smoked, but he holds his cigarette so strange. Do I have a pen or something to?
I've never. Hey, I got one. It's like this. Look
Yeah,
at that.
like why does he do that? Like
Maybe he thought that was like he was thinking
a posh, bougie way of doing it. I don't know. Like
that, or maybe he was thinking like, how would a villain smoke a cigarette?
Yeah. I mean, guys, I smoked for like 10 years. I don't anymore, but I did for like 10 years, and I never did that. Like,
Well, I bet
Always
you.
like that with
Yeah.
the 2 fingers.
I bet, and being a smoker, you were probably around other smokers. Did anybody else hold their cigarette like that?
I've never seen anybody hold one like that. Like,
Maybe he just didn't know how to smoke.
I don't know. Maybe he did.
And they saw him do that, and it was so funny that they were like, no, don't tell him. Like, let's see if this makes it into
Let
the
him
movie.
do it. Well,
Yeah.
but yeah, like I just dig. There is so much of this that I could talk about that I like right now. I love it.
Yeah, I love the set. I love the set so much. It's not as extravagant, is that the right word, as the volcano set that we got, but also this movie is like a little more grounded. So it fits. It's consistent with the tone. With that being said, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and you know, we get Bond. He's going up, and he's wearing a kilt, which I do think it's something where one of the most famous Scottish actors of all time, Sean Connery, was not in the Bond movie where he wore a kilt. Like literally, this was his time.
What if that was a middle finger to Sean?
Might have been.
But anyway, so
I have a question, if that's
go
okay.
ahead.
Did you guys notice that on the helicopter ride up, while Lazenby is being all like, I guess like soy boy about everything, like
Air sick.
yeah, like just being like pretty much the most annoying person ever.
Yeah.
Everyone, like he's doing that really good. Like he's a super weenie. I could see why Rosa Klebb wanted to kill him. Like they pretty much tease the entire third act of the film. Like they show you avalanche damage. They show you just people skiing because you know they're gonna ski later, and then they show you the luge part. Like they literally give you like a little teaser of everything that's gonna be in the third act.
Yeah, they tease all the set pieces. I didn't notice that, and this is coming from somebody that thought they were alluding to Tracy's death at the beginning. So,
Well, I guess I just like I don't know. I never noticed it like the first 2 times I watched it. So
good observation. No, seriously.
Yeah. So, like, you know, we get a lot of Bond basically going and having, well, okay, actually, I'm not even going to say having relationships. Bond's going and cheating on Tracy with all the girls he can. And this wouldn't mean that much if it wasn't the girl that he's going to marry, later on in the movie. But so he's going and cheating on Tracy all over the place. Ruby and that other girl, the blonde-headed chick, I don't know, a Scandinavian one, I don't know who that is, but anyway, so like he's doing all this, but this kind of leads to his own downfall because as Colton, the Living Daylights flat, was talking earlier, guess who was in the bed one time whenever he went in to snuggle up was our girl, Fraulein Irma Bunt.
You know what would have been insane is if he just went ahead and
Just went ahead and done it anyway. Like,
Yeah.
hey, if it's Roger Moore, he would have.
I don't think he was her type. I think she wanted something a little bit better.
Fair enough.
I'm glad you just came right out and said it though, Jonathan, about him cheating because he does.
Yes.
And as a married man, I just want to say I would never cheat with that. With
Oh,
that,
me either.
With that many women at once. So,
I mean, that's hella women, you know. Like,
Not so close together.
yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
space them out a little bit, eh?
So I'll say from a character aspect, like I've always, even though I'm not as versed in Bond as you guys, like I've always thought that Bond and his sexual appetite was due to the fact that he could die at any time. So he's like, I might as well sleep with this woman.
That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah.
Maybe that was the case in this
Well,
film.
I do think that. Well, okay, so in this case, Colton, I think the reason he's sleeping with him, well, of
Just
course,
get information.
There is the pleasure part of it, but I think it's also because he wants to figure out just what the hell Blofeld is doing. But to back up what Colton just said about Bond dying at any time, I do understand that as well. I definitely think that's why he does a lot of the stuff with the drinking and the smoking, even some of the drug use you see in the novels and the sex. I do think that it's all about, you know, he could die any time. Let's live it up while we can.
Yeah. If I'm gonna die around the next corner, might as well be happy.
So we get Bond being knocked out by Irma Bunt, I guess, and her dude come out and knocked him out, and he wakes up in Blofeld's lair. And this, I think we spoke on this in the last one, but they're acting like this is the first time they've met, even though they met in You Only Live Twice. And there's really no way about it to explain it. It's just they pretty much are just doing introduction scene again. Really.
Yeah. I'm not going to dwell on this very much because it really didn't bother me that bad. Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen this movie, and maybe I was a little more judgmental back then, and so I just that part really stuck out to me. It didn't really bother me that bad, but that's sort of why I said earlier that if they had sort of left this open for interpretation, so you could maybe picture this existing in like a parallel universe, then you know, it wouldn't be an issue. But I will say that my explanation is that Blofeld just doesn't know who George Lazenby is. So,
well, the way that I've always did this in my own head is, okay, so You Only Live Twice was 67. This is 69. That's been 2 years ago. Maybe Blofeld, you know, maybe he didn't think Bond was that big, but that doesn't work because From Russia with Love, we had the Bond mask, so that doesn't work either. So pretty much, guys, there's no way we can make this work. We might as well just forget it and move on.
If you just have to have an explanation, the only thing that the movie gives you is he's in disguise.
Yep.
That's it.
That's it.
It's not a very good disguise.
It's not at all. But
I will say that go ahead, Eric.
I said, so what if Blofeld is a code name and that you can just put anybody in there as?
You know,
I'm glad. Go ahead, Jonathan.
That's not the first time I've heard that, actually.
Look, I'm glad you brought that up, Eric. No, I'm glad you brought that up because if you if you agree with the Bond code name theory, then Blofeld has to be a code name by that logic.
And this, I'm going to bring something up in the next Bond video we do about Diamonds Are Forever. But if you say Blofeld is a code name, what about the Diamonds Are Forever Blofeld, who is played by the same guy that played Henderson from You Only Live Twice? It's like, why didn't Bond say, Henderson, what's up, dude?
Well, the explanation for that Diamonds Are Forever gives you is Blofeld is doing like facial reconstruction
clones
stuff,
or whatever. Yeah,
but Bond didn't know that.
Yeah.
So he should still have made a comment, I guess.
I have something to say about the facial reconstruction and stuff. I think that the reason Bond might not recognize him is because he does have plastic surgery on his earlobes. And you could say that he had facial surgery reconstruction to get rid of his scar and all that stuff to make him unrecognizable.
I guess, and I think I said something like this last episode. If the movie would just make a reference to something like that, then all is well.
But they
may not
don't.
be right, and they don't. It's such an easy thing. Like all these issues are so easy to remedy, but they don't. And maybe they don't give you the best explanation, but it's something.
Yeah.
But they don't.
I will say to the series as a whole, from what I've seen of the Bond franchise, they have a habit of not spoon feeding the viewers.
Right, and in a way, I like that.
Yeah,
especially with these older movies, because I think it's a smart way of doing it, because our people back then weren't as invested in movies, I guess, or franchises rather, as we are now.
Yeah.
So the people back then weren't watching every Avengers movie. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So they could go and view these movies episodically, so to speak, and they didn't have to know the lore or what happened in the previous movie or the very first movie. So,
Caleb, I think that is like the greatest information you could give on this subject. That is exactly what it is. Back then, you didn't have whole universes of movies that people, had watched,
right,
on time.
Well, and the reason for that is because this is like Bond is the very first long running film franchise. Yeah. And maybe I'm sure the producers didn't really see this thing lasting for 50, 60 years.
Oh, not at all.
So they haven't planned that far in advance.
Yeah.
So they're not concerned with, it's like you said last episode, they're not concerned with continuity. You shouldn't be either.
Shouldn't be either. So, yeah, I mean, guys, I really like the points y'all brought up on this. Very good points. I think anybody listening to this could learn something from what y'all just said. That is the way that I think it's best to go about it. Just don't even worry about it. Hey, the producers ain't worried about continuity. You shouldn't either.
Well, I've thought about that topic a lot.
Yeah.
The continuity, and you really helped me get over that last episode. What I said a while ago, the producers weren't concerned about it. You shouldn't be either. So, yeah, okay.
So Bond's found out he's got to escape Piz Gloria. Just a kind of like a little MacGyver moment when he takes his pockets out and he rips them off and he uses them to. I think that's really cool.
I did too. Thought that was a really resourceful detail. But since you said MacGyver, that's not the first MacGyver example we get. Remember when he opens the door?
He gets that.
Yeah, and then he makes that tool. Very, very MacGyver-esque.
I agree. I agree with everything you guys just said. Thumbs up.
So we finally get to where Bond's about to escape Piz Gloria. And this is one of my favorite moments, guys. So he's putting on his goggles, putting on his ski suit, putting on his skis. And in the background, you hear the On Her Majesty's Secret Service music, the theme coming on, and shit's about to go down. Something's about to happen. So we get Bond making the nighttime escape. We get the German guards. Of course, they would be Germans, or they're Swiss, but they speak German.
Mhm.
So they're all saying the Englishman there, he's leaving, and we get all these guys coming down, and skiing after him. And no matter how many times I see shots where you can tell there's a green screen, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you see him like skiing and
It's
like
so bad
in the background. I mean, guys, I'm gonna be straight with you. It never bothers me through this movie. Like,
really.
not at all. Like, I do not care at all that they do that. Like,
No, I admire that. I wish I could see past it because
Like,
it's so jarring. And I was thinking when I watched this movie, I was like, I think this scene still works if you took those out. I don't think you need those inserts. But I don't know.
but
The only insert I think you need is where you've got the henchman firing while skiing, and you see the horrible background behind him. But it's cool to see somebody skiing without I don't know what they're called, but the sticks.
I think they're called sticks.
I think they're called sticks, aren't they?
Okay. Well, I didn't know, so there's me being dumb. But
Let's ask our expert skier, Eric.
Eric.
I think they're just called like ski poles, but I can look it up on the famous Google.
Well, I mean, Eric, I just know you ski, so I didn't know if you knew what they were called or not.
Oh no, I don't ski.
You don't ski?
No.
I thought that was the whole reason you came on.
Yeah, I thought you were the ski
poles.
expert.
Yep. Google calls them ski poles.
Well, yeah, like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Like, do you even know how hard it would be to ski with a gun, not even got any poles? And how do you do that? Like, I mean,
it would be ridiculous. Like,
man, I want a ski sequence so bad in a new Bond movie.
Why have they not done any since my God,
the world is not enough.
The world is not enough. Like, that's bad. Like,
I've always had that in the back of my mind, especially when Spectre came out.
Yeah.
In the trailer, I saw the Owner Majesty Secret Service sort of themed building and the mountains and all that stuff, the snow, and I was like, oh man, we're finally going to get a ski sequence, and
they dropped the ball on that.
They didn't even allude to skis. Bond just got in a plane and fucked off.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, like, I do miss the skiing. I mean, man, the world is not enough. That's been what, almost 25 years ago.
Yeah,
and we ain't got a ski sequence since. That's crazy.
And I really think it's worth mentioning before we move past this thing that it is executed so well.
Yeah,
the action is so good especially for its time.
Yeah.
Is this the part where he skis with one ski?
Yes.
That alone,
yes,
is impressive. I mean, that is so cool.
Like, yeah, the fact that Bond is literally skiing with one ski. Yeah, it's
and minus the rear projection, everything you see on screen is practical.
Yeah.
So that, I don't know, that is a testament to just how hard they worked on these movies.
Yeah.
It's such a great scene.
And also, I mean, we get some brutal little moments. Bond throws one dude off the cliff, and then he chokes the other guy, like strangles him with the.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot all about that, dude. Bond had some, I don't know if he just had a lot of adrenaline going through his body at that moment, but he threw that guy so far.
Yes.
that dummy falling down looks ridiculous also. Like, it looks like a mall mannequin with flappy arms. Like,
man, you really did not need the camera tracking the dummy all the way down. They should have just put a little, like a small excerpt from that shot, just insert it in the scene somewhere, but don't leave it lingering long enough for you to be able to tell that is clearly a dummy.
Yes.
I agree. We get to Bond, he's in the town, he's trying to outrun Spectre. And we see we see Bond trying to kind of trying to disguise himself a little bit. He's drinking beer at one of the little beer stands. He's looking about hopeless. And then who shows up? And it's old Tracy. Out of nowhere comes to rescue him, which is one of my favorite scenes. Because at this moment, it was not looking good for old Bond, but she came and really rescues him. So they get in the old Mercury Cougar and they drive until they can't drive anymore. And they stay at a barn pretty much. And this is when Bond does the unthinkable. And what does he do, Colton Flat?
He asked her to marry him, right?
Asked her to marry him.
Which I thought was really nice. It was a nice touch.
It kind of reminded me whenever I asked my wife to marry me.
You
really? You guys were in a barn?
What?
You guys were in a barn?
No, we wasn't in a barn. We were in a park in Union City, but that's another story. But anyway. But yeah, guys, I really like this scene. It's a scene we've pretty much never seen again, honestly. It's very unique. We never see Bond ask another woman to marry him, at least in the movies. Thoughts? Eric Humphrey, what do you think about it?
Man, I seen something or noticed something that is kind of un-Bond like. He goes, we're not going to mess around or anything like that. And then, they act like they're not going to do nothing. Then all of a sudden you just see him kick the little hayloft or whatever that she's on, and it rolls on top of him. He's like, whoops, how did that happen?
Yeah. When he said that they were going to wait till marriage, I thought that was Bond's excuse to sort of buy him some time so he can go to a doctor and get checked first. Because he just slept with half a dozen women, but he can't. Oh, okay. Well, you
he probably slept with all of them.
Well, I just imagine that we didn't get to see all of those interactions on screen, that they cut some out. But yeah, sorry.
I was saying he was telling one of them that he'd like to show him something, and then I don't remember if it was in the novel or whatever. He scheduled a time with one of them, and he's like, perhaps, and then he said perhaps 10 o'clock with the next one. He was
that's why I thought that, because when they were what is that game called where you slide the thing?
Is it shuffleboard? No, not
shuffleboard, ain't it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But anyway, as all the girls were walking by Bond, he's like 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. So
10 o'clock.
Yeah. So I guess that's why I thought he slept with all of them. But I like when he knocks the hayloft down. I thought that was really smooth.
So Jonathan,
go ahead.
So Eric brought up Bond characteristics. I would like to touch on what Lazenby brings to the characteristics of Bond in this film. He is a lot more aggressive in his pursuit of women. I think you see in his interactions with Moneypenny at the beginning of the movie, he straight up kissed her. And
he violated every sexual harassment clause in the MI6 handbook in that one scene.
This is 1969. That didn't exist yet.
Oh yeah, you're probably right. What's sexual harassment? You mean day-to-day work?
Yeah, this is what men do back then.
Yeah.
That was his work wife.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with the headcanon of that, but I just thought it was really ballsy, because I think he smacks her on the bottom too.
That's what I was referring to.
Yeah. So I agree with what you said, Caleb and Eric. I don't know. I just thought not he was trying to outdo Connery, but I really think he was trying to say, hey, I'm Bond plus a little.
He's the only actor that actually on the first take threw the hat and it landed on the hat stand first take.
Oh, no way.
The one that did that.
He must have got some training from Odd Job.
I want to touch on the chase scene before we get too far. My only problem with this scene is I really don't think Bond would let Tracy drive in a life or death situation.
That's what I was thinking too. Why didn't Bond take the wheel?
Yeah. Maybe I really don't know because Bond hasn't seen her driving up until this point, except for the very beginning. And she wound up passing out after that. So maybe don't let her drive if she's prone to faint for no reason.
I will say the only time Bond drives her around, it doesn't end well. So
Yeah, you got a point.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But so they go and they have their little marriage proposal or whatever, and they wake up the next morning and they're skiing, and Blofeld's guys are after them again.
Very polite of them to let them have a rest.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I will say this: I love this whole sequence. I love whenever one of the Spectre goons falls in the hole and the
yeah
hits him, and Bond says he had lots of guts.
I hated that line. Lazenby has done so well with the one-liners up until this point, and then you get that he had lots of guts. Just felt really tone deaf.
Caleb, get out of here.
I loved it. I loved it.
I didn't like it, man. And look, I'm on board with the quips. I really am. I didn't like that particular one. Eric, let's hear your thought.
To be honest, I must have been playing on my phone during this scene because that was like the one I did not pay attention to. I don't remember that.
Colton, it will be only me and you from now on. Okay,
That's fine.
Man, look, I think Lazenby delivers the quips great. Not this one.
Okay.
It's fair enough.
And so
we disagree though.
Well, I'm sorry.
I said it's fair enough, but we disagree though.
he's okay.
So pretty much, we get some awesome ski stuff. I really love all this until your boy Blofeld, he causes an avalanche, which, like Colton alluded to earlier, it said beware of avalanches. So Blofeld causes one, which leaves our girl Tracy stuck in the snow. Inspector get her, take her back, and that leaves Bond by himself. So we see him back in England, and he's trying to convince M, hey, we need to go get Tracy. We need to take down Spectre. But M cannot get permission from the Swiss government because, Swiss are neutral and everything. So who does Bond turn to? Who do we all turn to when we're in need of something? The mafia. So he's like, hey, Draco, I got some demolition stuff we got to do. So we get them on the helicopters, and I love this scene, because I guess the people are on the radio, and they're like, why are you guys coming in, on your helicopters? Yeah. And I love that Draco's like, well, we're representatives from the free world. We're esteemed representatives, like just a bunch of thugs on there, like.
Yeah. I think he actually says that they're transporting medical supplies for the Red Cross.
Just a bunch of gangsters, and
they ask, well, why do you have passengers? And he says they're associates of the press or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, I really like that. Also, I want to mention that it's really cool seeing Bond sort of side with a criminal.
Yes.
In this, it kind of blurs the lines between good and bad, and even though we've been presented this sort of fantastical Bond universe up until this point, and it doesn't really seem like something Sean Connery's Bond would do, but it's sort of, I don't know, it makes it realistic in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a cool detail.
You gotta look at it like this. I mean, if your girlfriend or your wife was kidnapped by somebody and your government wouldn't do anything about it, I mean, hey, if you knew somebody who was a criminal and they were your only choice of getting your woman back, hey, why not?
That's a good point too.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do.
That's another thing I wanted to bring up. Let's look at Bond's motivation here. He's not going back for Blofeld.
Go back for Tracy.
He's going back for Tracy,
Yeah.
which really, I don't know, it really hammers home their relationship, I think.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what I was referring to real quick. It's cool that Blofeld, and this is jumping all the way back to the beginning of the movie, but Blofeld's the bigger fish.
Yeah.
And Bond sees this this criminal as a potential means of obtaining Blofeld, and I think it's really cool that it's not this black and white sort of good versus evil thing.
I agree.
Eric, thoughts on that?
I think you're muted.
I think he's muted again, boys.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't think so.
I guess it just
Sorry,
didn't
Eric.
get the sound.
No, the dog was barking, so I muted earlier.
No, I got you.
Yeah.
But
I would like to say that personally, when they land the helicopter and Lazenby is like sliding down the shuffleboard part.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Love that shit.
Yes. Love that shit. Agree with you, Colton.
Yeah, that was really cool. I was
just about to bring that up, man. That is like peak Bond for me right there.
You got that coupled with the original Bond theme from Dr. No.
Yes, it's blaring the whole time.
Perfect.
Yes.
Man, if only they had used the 007 theme. It might have bumped it up a little. I mean, it's already great.
See it, Colton?
He must have he's done with this.
I think he just went to go use the restroom.
No, it was because you said 007 thing.
I know. I was
But that I cannot address that enough, man. Him sliding down the ice with his gun, shooting people. I mean, we even see him murder an innocent scientist later on. Well, I mean, the scientist was throwing something at him, but I mean, Bond just kind of gunned him down.
Bond probably does not need to be breathing that. That, whatever that was in that vial, melted the glass, and Bond's just standing right next to it, looking at it.
What I like is Bond shoots somebody, and he takes his gun, and he says, "Guns make me nervous," which is something he said earlier.
Yeah, I didn't like that either. Sorry.
I love that. Caleb, why do you not like?
I'm sorry. I don't know, man. It's just kind of cheesy.
All right, fine. But what do you think about Tracy holding her own with one of the Spectre guards? She gets a fight scene too.
Yeah, I like that. It's consistent with her character.
Yes.
It didn't catch me off guard. I bought it.
One thing and this is I'm going to bring up about Tracy. I told you earlier I'd bring something else about her up. I really dig the scene when she's up there and she's reciting poetry with Blofeld, because Blofeld is basically trying to make her his girl for a second, and she's up there, reciting poetry, saying all this stuff. I mean, I don't know, like I could totally get behind this being Bond's, dream girl. She's beautiful, she's smart, she's the whole package.
Yeah, she's a good skier.
Yeah,
we got that.
Athletic and everything.
She's a good driver.
A great driver. Yeah, a Bond. It's somebody that Bond can really depend on.
Yeah. But so anyway, we got Bond shooting everything, killing people. Draco's guys are flamethrowing people down. I mean, it gets wild for a minute. And he's taking pictures with his little spy camera of all the girls and where they're going. So that part of the story is finished. We all know that we're going to figure out where the girls are going, and that's going to be done. So right when Bond's doing this, Blofeld comes and tries to kill him. So then we get a chase. And of course, they end up chasing each other on the thing we all expect them to chase each other on, bobsleds.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad Bond and Blofeld gave each other enough time to put on their helmet and their goggles. Because
safety first, lads.
Safety first. I mean, I know we're throwing hand grenades at each other and shooting at each other, but you don't want to get snow in your eye. So
That's right. But
He's talking about his. I'm kidding.
oh yeah, his dick. Don't want to get snow.
Nice, Caleb.
oh boys, what would I do without you?
Hey, it was my turn to make it PG-13.
But
I definitely approve.
what do y'all think about the bobsled sequence, Eric? If you could let us know how you feel about it, my man.
Man, I thought Jamaica was going to win the Olympics with this one.
Nice. I love that film.
Yeah, no, it was pretty cool, man. It was something new that I haven't really seen Bond do in all his different chases and everything. And then finally catches up with Blofeld. They're fighting it out on that one bobsled. And then all of a sudden, Blofeld gets his head caught in the stick and gets caught. I was like, okay, dude's dead. Man, he just got his neck broke.
He branched off.
Yeah, I was like, man, this is some Burt Reynolds stuff where going through the mountains and just broke his neck, dangling like this and all that mess.
Look, I've already griped about the rear projection, so I'll keep this short. The rear projection in this scene is absolutely terrible. When you get the rear shot of Blofeld's bobsled, and so we're looking, out the front of his bobsled, the footage that they used is like, it's so all over the place, and Blofeld's not really reacting as if his bobsled was really like, I don't know, man. Maybe it was a stylistic choice. I don't know, but I also think it was a really nice detail, I guess, that Blofeld drops the grenade at his feet before he, gets to throw it.
Okay. Does anybody know how long it actually takes for a grenade to go off after you pull the pin and let go of the handle on it? Because
I'm so glad you brought this up, man.
Man, this really bothered me in this scene.
Yep.
We talked about that in Thunderball too. We brought that up, and I never looked it up.
So what do most grenades take? What are there 4 or 5 second fuses?
According to the FY 2021 U.S. Army justification, the average cost. Oh my God! Hold on. Okay, it's fuse delays detonation between 4 and 5 seconds.
Okay. I swear this one takes like what, 15 seconds?
And
no, it's like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Playing around with it, hot potato and the hand grenade and the bobsled.
And real quick, just while I've got this pulled up, a single M67 grenade is around $45 US.
Dang, I could buy a few M67s then.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Boys, you want to go into business together?
Only if you guys can make sure I can live a second time, because I'm probably gonna blow my hand off.
So whenever Bond, whenever he gets done with the bobsled race and the bobsled chase, I should say, and Blofeld is hanging from a tree, instead of going back and shooting the body of Blofeld, instead, I guess freaking. Did y'all ever watch the movie Beethoven with the dog?
Yeah, it's been forever ago.
Oh, well, like freaking Beethoven comes up and starts licking on Bond here.
Oh, the Saint Bernard.
Yeah, and I guess Bond is like more interested in chilling with his dog and drinking top shelf Hennessy.
That's twice we've seen something like that in this movie. You remember the avalanche scene?
Yeah.
Why doesn't Blofeld go back to make sure Bond is dead?
Exactly.
I don't know.
So some do what, Eric?
I said it's got to be plot armor.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, I know.
Something we haven't really spoke much on. I really like how hands-on this Blofeld is. Like I liked how he went chased after skiing, and I liked the whole bobsled sequence, even though it looked pretty bad.
All the wide shots of the bobsleds going down the track, those look good. Like those look fine, but the inserts look awful.
Yeah.
Yes.
And real quick, that like coming off of You Only Live Twice, that did the rear projection pretty well, I think. especially consider the time. I don't know. Maybe they just didn't put enough toward the budget for the special effects.
Well, they had plenty of extra money because I'm sure Lazenby was a whole lot cheaper than Connery.
That is a good point. I bet he was.
So we get the final scene of the movie where we get, M and Q and Moneypenny, which, I mean, I don't think this is supposed to be sad, but guys, in a way, it's kind of sad. This is literally the closest thing Bond has to family that would be at his wedding is M and Q and Moneypenny. Like two guys that don't really like Bond and a woman who has a crush on him.
Yeah, and Colton brought this up to me the other night. Q's interaction with Bond here is really nice. Like you get to see a little of Q's respect coming through towards Bond.
Yeah, and
I really think. Sorry, Jonathan.
No, go ahead.
I really think that's because Q probably thought, as we've established, Q really thinks Bond is immature.
Yeah.
And like by him going and marrying this woman, I think he looks at him as having grown as a person and getting character development.
Yeah.
Like in universe. Like
I think that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Like, and like also, I will say, like, this is probably, other than The Little Man, this is probably my favorite part of the film because it shows so much while saying so little. Like, you got the interaction with Q and their stuff there. Then you got the stuff with him, and he looks proud. And you got Moneypenny, and she's super sad. Like, you just feel things that like I didn't expect to feel in this movie. And
I'm gonna be honest with you. That one scene when Bond throws, I mean, this is crazy for me to feel something on a movie this old. But like when he throws his hat to Moneypenny and she catches it, I mean, guys, I'm gonna be straight with you. Like that makes my like hair stand up whenever I see that, just because like, it's I don't know, I just like it. Like
I want to bring this point back up later. But it's really cool seeing the more emotional side of all these characters, and especially in a series that so far has just been about the action and about the set pieces and stuff like that. Here you get to really see the characters' emotions, and I don't know, man. Like you could argue like who cares? It's just the supporting characters in a James Bond movie, but I don't know. It's really cool.
I understand.
So like these feelings were weird for me to get in this movie, and I really appreciated the guy. The only other time I've really got kind of sort of feelings like this is it's just jumping ahead like 10 or so movies is like, but at Felix's wedding and the License to Kill.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it might be because they're both wedding settings, but like it was really pleasant to get these vibes from this. And I will say it's a nice interaction with Draco, and Draco's talking. Who's Draco talking to at the wedding?
I believe.
He's talking to M, right?
Yeah.
And like M implies that he had something to do with the Goldfinger heist.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. He says, yeah, the bullion job in '64, which is the movie, which is the year Goldfinger came out. Yeah, I like that too. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a nice nod to Goldfinger, I think. But
And,
what I was trying to say earlier, it's not often we get these sort of scenes in a Bond movie.
Yeah.
So I just really appreciated it here, especially now, because the last time I watched this movie, I'm pretty sure I was like 12, 13, 14, something like that. So I didn't really have the emotional maturity, I guess you could say, to appreciate it. And it's worth pointing out.
Yeah.
It probably sounds like we're gushing a little bit. It's just a breath of fresh air, I guess.
Yeah. And of course, we get our famous last scene of this movie with everything's going good. Bond's giving her flowers off the car, and all of a sudden Blofeld comes by, and that's it.
Yeah.
So what do y'all think about this ending? This is one of the only few downer endings that we get from the Bond series. Most of the time, the hero wins, the day is saved. This one, not so much,
Before we start on that, I'm gonna go pee real quick.
Okay.
Y'all can you keep going if you'd like.
All right.
I'll be right back.
If you would like, you can go first, Eric.
So I feel like Bond in this does the stereotypical spy thing. He protects himself, doesn't worry about others, so that way he can go fight the bad guys and do whatever. And then, like, he's surprised when he turns around and his wife's dead. Where it seems like, most normal people, I just thinking in these kind of situations, it's like you hear gunfire or something like that, kind of like the car wreck thing where you like put your arm out in front of your kid or something like that, trying to protect them, and you get hurt in the way. And so I'm kind of surprised that he doesn't try to protect her, but then again at the same time, man, dude's a spy, plot armor, he's got to go on to the next big job, and keep on keeping on.
That makes a lot of sense. When you talk about him usually only looking out for himself. I also think, to a similar effect, like, James is like, this is like one of the first times we've seen him really let his guard down. Like this is new territory for him, and he really, I don't want to mean like he fumbles here, but like he falls really short just because he tries to have something for himself for once, from what we've seen, and it's really sad, and it gives this film a lot more impact for me, just because, like, you see initially he's like, it's Blofeld, we've got to go after him. Then when he sees his wife is dead, like, he immediately forgets about going after Blofeld. He's not out for revenge. He's just he's hysterical at like the point, like at that point, like, he's just defeated. Like, he can't even accept it, I don't think.
Yeah, I totally agree, Colton. Like, and something even crazier to think about now. I don't know if you guys have watched Diamonds Are Forever.
Not yet.
Diamonds Are Forever is not a revenge movie, but the original Diamonds Are Forever that George Lazenby was going to be starring in was a revenge movie. And it was Bond going to get revenge for killing Tracy. In the movie Diamonds Are Forever, they don't even mention Tracy. It's just like that never happened, almost. So
I think that would be a shortcoming. That's really sad that they don't do anything about that, I think.
Yeah. But I don't know if you guys you probably never even heard of this channel, but it's called it's a Bond channel that's ran by a gay dude. It's called License to Queer. And dude, this channel, License to Queer, has like a whole hour-long video where they talk about the original Diamonds Are Forever script.
Okay.
And dude, it is a badass video. You need to watch it. If you ever care about like what like unused Bond like scripts, I'm telling you, that video on there about Diamonds Are Forever is really interesting.
I think that we should bring that up again next week when we watch Diamonds. And I think we should also link it in the video description on YouTube.
Most definitely. Man, I'm going to tell you, License to Queer has like some of the best videos on like unused script ideas ever. Like, I'm telling you, it's awesome. Caleb, what we were talking about, we were just going over like the ending, how we felt about it. You got anything you want to add to it, man?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, are we still recording?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes,
cool.
Man.
That's fine. I just didn't know. Yeah, Colton said something like it's a breath of fresh air, and that is sort of in my when I was trying to put my final thoughts into words, that's exactly what I started with. This is a breath of fresh air because, Jonathan, have you noticed this trend in Bond movies where they sort of ramp up the fantastical, like from movie to movie, and then all at once they'll just sort of like go all the way back to the basics pretty much. I don't think this one quite strips everything away. You still got the villain plot, and you still got the convoluted plan to take over the world, but it's just a more personal story. And it's a love story, really, more than anything. It's a love story with a Bond movie sprinkled in.
Yes.
That's what it is. So yeah,
I think you summed that up perfectly, Caleb.
Yeah, perfectly, Caleb.
I've given it a lot of thought. Like when I watched this movie the other night, man, I think I sort of gained a newfound appreciation for it. And I know I'm not the only one. I know this movie has been reevaluated since it's come out in the 60s, of course. But and I'm glad. I'm glad people have gone back and given this movie the proper evaluation that it deserves.
Yeah.
Because it can be sort of deterring when you see this new Bond that doesn't have any acting experience. If you know that going into it, you may not like it just for that simple fact. But if you actually give it a fair shake and maybe separate it from the rest of the series and just view it as its own self-isolated movie, it's really good.
Yes.
Which I think this film deserves.
Yeah.
Sure.
So closing thoughts, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you how I feel about this movie. As you probably know, love it. I personally love it. My wife, I'm gonna go ahead and pull her in here. This is her favorite Bond movie. She loves it. She thinks George Lazenby is, fine as hell. I also want to say something else of my opinion. Love the car in this movie. The only thing I hate is we didn't see more of it.
And the horn.
Yep. The horn. Love the Bond girl. Hell, I love all the Bond girls in this movie.
Yep.
I love the ally in this movie. I love Mark-Ange Draco. Like, I can't say enough good stuff about this movie. The team that did this movie were all awesome. Just the way this movie looks, beautiful. That's all I can say is beautiful. Somebody else can say their final thoughts on it.
Would you like to go, Eric?
Yeah. So it's not bottom five anymore. After the discussion, I've got a little bit of better appreciation and just thinking about some things through it, and especially the ending. It seems like the Bond getting married, is this like trying to think of the right word, but for like the later Bonds, is this like the same story that they use? It seems like Pierce Brosnan, doesn't he end up getting married later on, and isn't her name Tracy as well, or something like that? Or is it a different girl? I don't remember.
I'm trying to figure out what you might be thinking of.
Here's what I think, Jonathan, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
He might be referring to Tomorrow Never Dies, how they make reference to, I don't remember her name, but you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're talking about Paris Carver, yeah.
Paris, right, sorry. It's implied that they had a
relationship,
a serious relationship.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about, Eric?
I believe so. But then even like in the Daniel Craig movies, it seems like after seeing this one, the whole like marriage thing at the end of this movie, then in the next movie, he was supposed to take revenge if, the same actor would have got in it. So is this kind of like them trying to redo, or like Daniel Craig trying to redo it later? Or am I just kind of reaching at stuff right now?
Well, so like in Casino Royale, we lose Vesper, and in the next movie, he is going out for revenge for Vesper. So yeah, it's kind of the same idea. If they had went ahead and did the revenge Diamonds Are Forever, that would be just like the one in the Craig movie.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add, or are you good, Eric?
No, I just to kind of sum up everything. It's a little bit better than what I thought it was, and y'all seem to give me a little bit of greater appreciation for Lazenby as Bond.
Here's what I think you should do. I told Colt the same thing. This movie really warrants a second viewing. I think you should go back with some of the things that we've said in mind, and I think you'll like it even more.
Yeah.
how about this? I will skip through all the Playboy scenes and all that, and I will try to pay attention to the more important action sequences.
Right. Just don't get distracted by tits. Is all.
Hard to do.
Hard.
So, with my closing thoughts, I just want to bring up that George Lazenby really surprised me. The first time I tried to watch this movie, I did not enjoy him, but he's really grown on me. I definitely think of him as a Bond now, and I love this movie. It's got a special place in my heart. And if you would like to see George Lazenby in other roles, he actually has like this. He's done a few small parody things Bond wise. He returns in as JB as a character in Return for Man from Uncle, and he pretty much he drives the DB5 in that. I think you should check that out and watch it. You can find it on YouTube. Also, I mentioned earlier about the DC AMU, the animated universe for the DC characters, when I was talking about Telly Savalas. George Lazenby actually voices a character in Batman Beyond. He voices King as one of the I can't remember what they're called now. I dropped the ball, but he plays a character named King in one of the Batman Beyond episodes, in 2 or 3 of the Batman Beyond episodes. I think you guys should check that out. He does a good job there.
Yeah, I think he does quite a bit of voice work now.
Colton, thanks for bringing up the Return of the Man from Uncle. He actually has played Bond more in unofficial parody roles than he has official Bond. So he was in the Return from the Man of, the Return of the Man from Uncle, and he's also in one of the episodes of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and it's called Diamonds Aren't Forever.
Yes,
I know the first reference you made. I didn't know about that second one, so that's interesting.
He's in a few other things where he plays pretty much James Bond, a secret agent role. Caleb, you got any last words to say about this one?
Usually I'll give a ranking, like a numerical ranking, and I've always I've tried my best to not stray from that, because I really don't like numerical rankings. Yeah. And the reason for that is, man, if you ask me my favorite Bond movie today, and then you ask me tomorrow,
it's going to be different.
9 times out of 10, it's going to be different.
Yes.
But with that being said, and also, y'all have already seen me on here change my score for a movie, and this is the 5th movie.
Yeah.
So 6, sorry. So obviously, I am very wishy-washy. But with that being said, I think this movie is a solid 9 out of 10.
I would go ahead and say it's a 10 out of 10 just on my part. I love it.
Yeah, I was gonna give it a 10 out of 10, but again, this is why I don't like numerical rankings. But I talked myself out of it because I don't like the dubbing part.
Fair enough.
Some of the rear projection looks like shit, but real quick, the cinematography and the color grading in this movie is beautiful.
Wonderful, beautiful.
And I don't think it goes underappreciated necessarily, but I don't think you can say enough about it.
Yeah.
Like, this is just a beautiful looking movie.
I know we have to close up. I have one last thing, Jonathan, and I'm sorry. I will say that we did not mention the fact that in the end scene, as mad as people were that Sean Connery did not return for this film, I really think that the way Lazenby handled the emotion in that scene is something Sean would not have been able to deliver to us.
I agree.
Yeah, that's something that I will give Lazenby credit for, and I'm sure if Sean had been slated to star in this movie, they would have tailored the script more toward his Bond.
Yeah.
But since you've got this fresh face, it kind of opens the doors for more things you can do with the characters, such as, the emotional things that we get, and I think that's to Lazenby's credit.
Yes.
Well, fellas, does anybody have anything to add before we head off?
I think it was great having Eric join us this week, and hopefully he'll join us again in the future.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you, Eric. I really do appreciate you coming on.
No problem, guys. Maybe next time I join, maybe we do something on Pierce Brosnan or something like that. That one is, I know those movies a little bit better than these older ones, so I actually had to go to McKay's. I don't know if y'all have heard of that. Colton knows the place, but
Love it.
awesome place. And I actually went and got the Blu-ray set that has everything up until 2015. So was that Spectre?
Spectre.
Yeah. So I've got all those on Blu-ray now. And so me and my fiance, we've been trying to catch up on everything. And so I started out with on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Just to,
Did you say McKay's?
Yeah.
I love that place. If anybody listening, if you're in the Nashville area, check that place out. It is awesome. I've actually got a GoldenEye VHS that I bought from that place.
Oh, dude, I could spend all day in McKay's.
Me too.
Real quick, Colton was talking about some other appearances of George Lazenby in film. I wanted to mention this documentary about George Lazenby called Becoming Bond that released in 2017. It is a really good documentary, and it's a really good window into the like what we were talking about earlier, how he got the role and all that stuff. It's a really, really good documentary.
I'll have to check that out.
Well, all right, fellas. If that's all, anything else to be said?
No, I think we've summed this one up beautifully. I think we all enjoyed it for the most part.
Well, guys, we'll be back next week with Diamonds Are Forever. And Jonathan Lonham signing off. Oh, by the way, be sure, if you made it this far, like, subscribe, comment, get us out there, all right?
Leave us a review.
Leave us a review. Even if you hate it, leave us a review, okay?
Like, subscribe, comment. If you're listening on Spotify, leave a review. And you know what? I'm not even going to plug my YouTube channel this time. This is all about For Your Ears Only.
I agree.
And the accompanying YouTube channel For Your Eyes Only.
I agree.
All right. Well, I've been Jonathan Lonham. Thanks for joining. Thank you.
Colton Flat.
Caleb Humphrey.
Eric Mabry signing off.
You boys be good.
Adios.
Adios, amigos.
Thank you for joining us on episode 6 of For Your Ears Only on Her Majesty's Secret Service.